Hello, welcome to the last day of Embody Your Dreams. I'm just going to be opening this space for any questions you might have. I came directly from being a parent, my primary job, to this. So excuse the hair, and I'm just going to try to center myself. So you might hear him in the background. He's with Dad, but he really is clingy to me. So if you didn't know, I have a 2-year-old, and that's my primary role right now. But yes, I came directly from that. So, yeah, lots of wrestling and fits and things like that. So, yes. So this is the last day of Embody Your Dreams. I just wanted to discuss building a magical practice. I wanted you have to have an opening to continue this work out after the challenge. So to build a practice that will bring about the dream that you are wishing to bring into the world, what you believe your purpose is. I hope that by now you have some kind of idea that your purpose is not outside of you, that it is actually within you, and that you have access to it at all times, and that, yes, that your intuition is even just a little stronger from doing some of these exercises. So that's what I hope. Yes, I'm not going to be on here a terribly long time. And so unless I want to field questions, and that's pretty much all, and discuss what building a practice is. So I used to, as I said yesterday, have a practice that was very much taken from, other teachers and from certain paths. I've delved into Buddhism. I have a Christian background. I've really dove into certain lineages of yoga, things like that. But something I've been working on in the past few years is what I'm teaching you in the email that you received today, and that is to build a practice around an archetype, and to even further from that, to build your own practice and to hack your spirituality in a way that can help you manifest things in the world. So when I hear that word manifest, I know a lot of things come to mind. Maybe some of you are comfortable with that, but it took me a while to be comfortable with that word. Even this year, I was like, this sounds so greedy and weird. But this has been a way for me to set, if you want to even just say set goals, manifest, set goals, something in a way that's really tangible. So the building that archetype is a really tangible way for me to see what I want. But it's also really fun. It's also allowing me to be creative and to build my spiritual practice. If my practice isn't creative, then I feel honestly dead inside. I'll rebel against it. Dramatic, right? But yeah, I won't do it. It doesn't even serve me, to not be creative in my practices. So this is a way for me to teach that kind of thing, to be creative, to open up different portals to your goals, to your purpose, which once again is you. So different parts of you will be represented in your life purposes. So building a practice I set a moon cycle, so you can start this on the new moon, or even right now, this practice that you've built, or you can do it for 40 days if you want to be really traditional, or you can do it for 5 days. Again, just do another 5 days of just this practice, see how it feels, and then move on from there. So yes, building your own practice, to me, that's so empowering. It's so fun. For instance, your practice doesn't have to be super strict and stoic. I just realized that in the last 2 years. I'm like, oh, I don't have to, be super strict and sad and, flogging myself in order to have a spiritual practice that matters. So it doesn't have to be painful. So that's something I wanted to, put across to you. So that is, I'll just share a little bit about my practice. My practice right now, I said in the email, it's a few different things. Affirmations, I go in and out of using them, but right now I am using them again, and even dug deeper. So I've done that exercise where I have turned negatives, things that I found negative, and turned them into positives, into truths, not really lying to myself, but really seeing how these things that I think are negative and flip them around. So that's a huge part of my practice. That is something I can do around my son. I can quickly look at my affirmations, and then I do something else a few times a week where I write a day in my life of this this life that I want to have. And I, even more importantly than that, I am grateful. So you hear that a million times. So this gratitude with desire of something more, they feed each other. So I'm always grateful and like really grateful for what I have. And I let myself just think of it. I could do that, or my son too. I could just let myself, even just looking at him, looking at anything I have, like my big backyard or this home and whatever, I can look at those things and then just feel it deeply in my bones. Gratitude. This practice of like reading affirmations, feeling gratitude really deeply, sometimes once in a while writing down what I want, how I want my life to feel and look like, that it takes like a few minutes every day. But the way I'm working with an archetype currently is, like I said, my grandmother. So I'll wake up, hopefully before my son, not always, but make tea. And I make her a cup of tea and myself a cup of tea. And that seems going to seem kind of weird. Me a few years ago, I thought that was really freaking weird. Honestly, I would have been like, why are you making someone who's passed a cup of tea? Even though in my culture, that we celebrate death in a very different way than, I'm just very Americanized. So I've never done that before, but it feels really good. I don't believe that my grandmother is going to float up and drink that tea, you know, but I do believe that when I make time and space for the archetype of my grandmother, the legend of my grandmother, I'm making space for those qualities that I want and that she had, that she represented. And that's this unconditional love for herself, for people around her, this nurturing thing that she had. She nurtured, just always nurtured people around her that mattered. And she was so patient. And so as I shouldn't say, I'm going to just say it, as I have and I deal with a toddler, that unconditional love, that patience is really important, that I show that to my son. And on a deeper level, because everything is really about us, that I show that unconditional love to myself. So I work with the person that I feel like embodies that the most, and that is my grandmother. And like I said yesterday, in the past, I worked with tarot cards. I would love to know what you're working with. If you are working with a certain word, and that's really obscure, but I've actually even worked with a poem, and I Wild Geese by Mary Oliver. I worked with that poem for quite some time. I even got chills thinking about it, because that poem was so important to me. I read it all the time. And so I wasn't necessarily working with Mary Oliver, but I was working in the words that she wrote as like kind of a format for my practice. So you can get really creative with this. Your spiritual practice does not have to be, self-flagellation, just punishing yourself and purifying yourself, cleansing yourself. I am really in the belief that your spiritual practice should inform the life that you want now, the life you are building, and should help you heal your past wounds and also live with them. So it should help you live in the future, past, present, all of those things. And it should bring out parts of you. So this is different than an idol, for instance. I'll bring that up too. So you might start working with an archetype that seems so different than you are, and so much maybe putting them on a pedestal. So that's a danger to avoid. So yeah, there's a way. Like my grandmother was way more patient than I am, right? She just was. But I don't put her on this pedestal of of her just constantly being better than me. I approach it like, what parts of her reside in me? So I think working with ancestors is something I'm very new at. There's a lot of secrets in my family, so I don't know a lot of my roots, unfortunately. I'm working on that. But working with your ancestry, you are working with parts of yourself, right? So working with a tarot card, it's not that the card has power over you. It's that card came to you for a reason, because part of you is in that card. Part of you is in that archetype. So yes, lots of layers to that. I would love to know if there's any questions about this. I know not everyone can watch. It's Friday night at 4, so I understand not everyone can watch this live. But as you're going through the challenge, even if it's next week, next month, next year, I'm sure this will still be up in this group. let me know what questions you have about archetypes. I actually feel like I could do a whole course on this. I feel like I could do a whole series on just this, and I've had some ideas about that. So if you are interested in that, let me know, and I will make resources for you for this group and anyone else who's interested. Yes, but yeah, building a practice. I will remind you at the beginning, I had said to not have too lofty of goals of like waking up at 5 a.m., 4 a.m. in the morning, every morning, and punishing yourself for existing and not being this, I don't know, this is something I need to speak about more in this group, but the way my practice used to be such a punishment and so full of self-hatred, even though it looked really positive and beautiful. Like if someone would have glanced into my morning, they'd be like, wow, that person really loves themselves and really is dedicated. Yes, I was dedicated. I was dedicated to perfection. I was dedicated to purification, making myself better constantly. Like, this is wrong with me. That's wrong with me. I need to be a better person. So my practice has shifted much more into what can I learn? What can I, how can I honor myself? How can I honor the parts of me that already exist? How can yes, I love growing. I will always be a growth mindset person, whatever you want to call it. But, and because I love learning and I love picking out layers of myself and learning about different things. But there's a subtle difference of like waking up because you are punishing yourself versus, because you're so excited and curious to give yourself that time and that love, so it's very, very different. So if you are tempted to, make up this really complicated, long practice that you fail at, quote, quote, fail at, reach out to me. I've been there. I'm still there sometimes. And so that's the kind of thing I feel like I know how to help people with very specifically because I've been there. So yeah, so just watch that your practice becomes an act of self-love, not an act of punishment. So we don't need any more punishments. The world is hard enough. The world is, just hard enough on us. We don't need any more things to punish us. Our practice should nourish us and help us prepare to be in this world. So anyway, I am going to cut this off. I'll be around here until, I'll be around the whole night pretty much. And so if you have questions, as if you're watching this much later, please comment with any questions you have. We'll be around to answer it. And I hope you enjoyed this challenge. I will be back Monday to help recap anything. And I will be talking about my mentorship if any of you are curious. And yes, and hopefully I won't look like I just jumped from being a toddler mom. But yes, I appreciate you guys. And thank you so much for investing time in this challenge whenever you're doing it. And reach out to me if you need any assistance. Love to you. Have a great weekend.